Hello, everybody. My name is Greg Morris. I am the Senior Vice President of Administrative Operations here at NuPath, and I'm also your guest host today for NuPath Live. Today is Thursday, November 11th, 2021. It also happens to be Veterans Day, and of course, Veterans Day is a day when we honor those who have served our country. It was a special kind of opportunity that I had yesterday. We pre-recorded 2 interviews with NuPath staff members who also happen to be veterans. And you'll find out that connection in a minute when I introduce people. But it's something that's been on my mind all week. My older daughter, Olivia, actually came home with an assignment, and that was to interview a veteran. And, we had a few options in my family and some friends who were veterans. She chose to interview my wife Jen's uncle, who spent time in the Marines in the early 80s, and he saw some combat as well. So it was an interesting experience. And then Dan Harrison, actually, earlier this week, when we were talking about, planning for this week's NuPath Live, he said, well, why don't you, take it over this week and perform the interviews? So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so our first interview, which was, as I mentioned, was pre-recorded yesterday on Wednesday, and little secret between us. I'm actually pre-recording this earlier in the day on Thursday, and those paying close attention can probably tell from my clock up there that says noontime. Anyways, this was an interview very special to me personally, and I'm talking about an interview with Russ Hodge, or as I know him as Uncle Russell, and you'll find out about that during the interview. But Russ Hodge is a life coach who works out of our Westford program. He's been with NuPath for almost 6 years now, and he served in the Coast Guard from 1961 to 1970, I believe, or somewhere in that range. And he's going to share some of that experience, and also on the interview, he touches upon what it was like for him personally, really coming out of the pandemic and coming back to NuPath, and how really life-changing that has been. So without any further ado, let's get to that interview. Hello, everybody. My name is Greg Morris. I am Senior Vice President of Administrative Operations here at NuPath. I have the honor and the pleasure today of interviewing two veterans who are currently part of the NuPath family. Today, we're pre-recording. It is Wednesday, the day before Veterans Day, and we thought it was a good opportunity to kind of chat with two of our own who are also veterans. And the first person that we're speaking to, as you see, is Russ Hodge, who is a life coach. He works out of our Westford program. And Russ and I have a special connection, you could say. I'd love to say that I'm the one who actually got him the job in Westford, but I don't have that honor. That belongs to someone else, and I'll let Russ talk about that. But Russ Hodge is actually my uncle, and I can say I've known him my entire life. Is that right, Uncle Russ? Can I call you Russ?
Yeah,
or Uncle Russ
you
today?
can. I was there at the very instant. So I've known Greg a long time.
I hope so. Russ is my mom's brother, and joined the NuPath family actually back in 2016. Can you believe it's been almost 6 years since you've been part of NuPath? That was a question. Can you believe it?
I can't. I really can't believe it. It's gone by so quickly, and I've actually enjoyed every minute. I was so lost. when we were furloughed for that year. And unfortunately, because of age and some health conditions, I went out early. And every day you fall in love with this whole community, the staff and the individuals. Like broke my heart to be living by myself and thinking about the people that would say, I love you as I walked out the door almost on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's, I can certainly identify with that. So you're in Westford, and that's where I got my start with NuPath. Now, can you believe, coming up on 10 years ago? And,
Wow.
and for me, it was a completely new experience, a new journey. And, I made those connections with people. And like you said, you could say, you would hear, I love you as you're walking out the door. And it just became something very different. But for you, you mentioned, during the height of the pandemic, a lot of people obviously, could feel very, very disconnected. And I'm sure that was a very difficult time for you. I know it was. But can you talk about that a little bit more, and then what it was like kind of coming back when you got the phone call?
Sure. It was difficult for me. I live in a small apartment by myself with a little dog. And in those early days, my daughter and your mom would come down, and I'd leave my laundry outside because I don't have a washer and a dryer. Or I would bring it up to your house and leave it out in the driveway there. And then when it was done, your mom would bring it back out and leave it in my driveway because we couldn't interface whatsoever. Most of the time, as far as going out for food and this and that, I had people do that for me. Um, one of the other scenarios was it just seemed to go on and on. And every day I would think about somebody. I'm not going to bring up names, and I'd say, I wonder how they're doing. I hope they're okay. Um, and so I weathered the storm for a year. I it was just hard for me. And then when I got the phone call, there was no hesitation. I said to Karen, "When can I start?" you know, and she said, "Okay, how about on Tuesday?" And I can remember coming back, and then I was really blessed to be sent to Westford. I had a love for a lot of the individuals here that I had known for a number of years, and it was really good to see them. The staff here has been so supportive. New direction. It was a whole new situation because of everything had changed. So what I knew prior to the pandemic wasn't the same. And I had been warned that when you get back, it's going to be a whole lot different. But everybody jumped forward, and what they did was they would assist me at any point in time. They'd say, "Russ, you need to do this way, or you need to do this that way." So in short order, I was back up to full speed.
And that certainly, I've had conversations with people out in Westford, specifically Brian Callan, who you work with out. He was a program director in Westford, and he would speak so highly of you and just say how you've become so indispensable, and certainly at a time where, and this, we're struggling to find people
Absolutely.
to work. And to have someone who with such a passion, who in return, and you spoke to it, this helps give you a sense of purpose too in your life, especially coming out of the pandemic. What a blessing that is, right? To
Absolutely.
to have that and to be part of something.
Absolutely, Greg. And these people here are my family. I'm old enough to be everybody's grandfather, and it's just such a joy, to have all the individuals. And I have, like I said before, there are individuals that will say to me, "Will you walk me to the van?" Okay, and I say, "Of course I will." Um, while there'll be somebody else that tells me they love me, and it just touches your heart so deeply. It's just a wonderful community, and what you guys do here at NuPath I'm so blessed to be a part of it. I have to be upfront with you. It's a joy for me to be here. And Brian is a wonderful. He's a wonderful manager. The people here in Westford, all levels of staff. If you need help, nobody sheds. Nobody shies away from doing anything, whether it's changing people or whatever the case. They're right there. No, I'll help you, or I'll take care of this. Don't worry about that. And I can't tell you how, what support that is, and have that kind of a staff that you're working with. Brian, I spend my time between two groups, DayHab and the CBDS. Today I'm in DayHab, um, you know, feeding and taking care of individuals that need to be taken care of, changing people that need to be changed. But whatever I can do, I just feel that I'm really so fortunate to be given that opportunity.
And it's so part of the reason we're talking today, and Dan Harrison thought it would be interesting if I took the opportunity to speak to my uncle in front of the whole NuPath nation, but also to help celebrate and honor veterans, and I guess kind of growing up, I didn't necessarily think of in terms of Uncle Russ is a veteran, but and maybe we'll actually bring up a photo of you now from your time in the service, but talk about your time, I guess, in the Coast Guard from 1961 to 1970. What was that like, and what was that all about?
Well, that actually it was wonderful. I mean, it's amazing because, like most vets, if I had to do it all over again, I'd be right up to the front of the line. There'd be no hesitation. And it was really, I was actually 17 and a half when I joined the Coast Guard. So basically I was just out of high school. But some of the things that happen when you get involved with the service is that whether it's the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, or Coast Guard, is that you do a lot of growing. And my recommendation to a lot of young people would be, if you live through that experience, you're going to come out a more total and whole person. And I think my stars that I was able to do that. We had done a series of things. I had spent time at the America Cup races in Newport, Rhode Island.
Wow.
Okay. I can remember running into Jackie Kennedy in a creamery in Newport, Rhode Island, which it really was exciting. But we also did a lot of things like search and rescue out of Salem, Mass. We get a call, and we'd go over and we'd all get on the boat and we'd head out. And mostly it'd be for SOS, that somebody had gone down, a boat had sunk, and there were people floating in the water, and we would head over and try to get there as quickly as we can and pull these people onto the boat and rescue them.
Well, I was going to say, 1961 and 1970, so that means both of my cousins, your son and daughter, were born during that time too, right? So Russ was, I guess, born a few years while you were into your service, and Sandra was born, 4 years after that. So
absolutely
as well. So I think I cut you off from the search and rescue part, and some of the experience there.
Now I had the opportunity because I was never a heavy man or a tall man. We would have these boat races, okay, off of Cape May, New Jersey, where we did a lot of water exercises. And I was what's called the coxswain. And if you've ever seen the scull boats that the colleges have and stuff like, That's the person in the back that steers it and also calls stroke, stroke, stroke. Um, so there was a lot of good fun times too as well. It was during a period of time where there was some very tough things going on in the country between the Korean War and Vietnam, and the country was totally divided because a lot of people were leaving the country that were of service age, because they had a difference of feeling. Um, but anyway,
You know, we don't have much time, so I'm going to wrap up and say that it is absolutely, it's a little surreal. It's a little awkward, you know, interviewing my uncle, who I saw in person yesterday, and I'll see, well, maybe not Thanksgiving this year, but all the time, you know, through this medium. But, you know, I can say I love you. And
love you too, Greg.
NuPath is so fortunate to have you as part of our family, and I think, you know, your time of service in the Coast Guard and is probably not all that different from your time of service here at NuPath, because it's
No, it isn't. There's some similarities for sure.
but Uncle Russ, thank you for joining us today, and I'll see you soon.
You're welcome. I look forward to it, Greg. Have a great day.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, that was great. Able to actually spend a little time with my uncle yesterday. As I mentioned, it was definitely a bit of a surreal experience, doing that interview for NuPath Live. Of course, I shared it with my family, and as I mentioned, my daughter Olivia interviewing Jen's uncle for Veterans Day. And the girls have been, you know, learning a lot this week about Veterans Day. My daughter Ava came home, who's my 6-year-old. She came home and was telling me about the first celebration of Veterans Day in the United States, and I believe it was just after World War II. And you know, it's information that I didn't know before. Of course, they were also coming home this week and singing all types of songs, military songs, and by far their favorite is the one for the United States Air Force, which leads us into our next guest, Mr. Kevin Tucker, who is the manager of IT here at NuPath, served in the United States Air Force, and we're going to hear about some of his experience. But Kevin has been with NuPath. He's become an indispensable part of the organization, and let's watch that interview now.
Okay, everybody, I now have the pleasure of being joined by another one of NuPath family's veterans, and that is Mr. Kevin Tucker, who is the manager of our information systems, our IT. And welcome, Kevin. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
You know, it's kind of short notice. We're recording this on Wednesday. Veterans Day is tomorrow. You spent 5 years in the Air Force. Is that correct?
4, correct, yeah.
4 years in the Air Force.
Two in the reserves. So.
Well, that's the exact amount of time that you've actually been with NuPath. Kevin has joined the NuPath family back 4 years ago in October, so you're actually over that 4-year mark. You're someone who has helped really transform a lot of our technology, a lot of our of how we go about our business. Certainly, you came at a time where we were kind of transitioning more and more from a kind of centralized model to really everything now is in the cloud, and you helped get us there. But a big part of what you help with is making sure that the different programs you know, are supported from a technology standpoint. And you've been with us throughout the pandemic, thankfully. Did you get your booster yet?
I did. I got it the Monday after they announced we could get it, so right away.
Good, attaboy. So we're very happy that you're part of the NuPath family. In addition to, you know, all the work you do on the technology side, you've also become one of our best fundraisers. You've actually raised, I guess, over $5,000 in your time fundraising. You've introduced a number of different kind of unique events and to help with the fundraising spirit. I think you and your team brought in Taco Tuesdays first here at New Boston Street, and you've had a lot of fun with it. So we're very fortunate that you're part of NuPath. But that all being said, tell us about your time in the military, in the Air Force, if you don't mind.
Sure. So I was a very young man. I joined at 17 years old. As soon as I could, I joined the day after Christmas in 1977. Left right away. It was my first Air Force in Texas, Boston. So I was the youngest guy in my, they call it a flight, but your basic training group, and that kind of being young followed me throughout my 4 years. I was the youngest of everything that I attended. But I went down at basic training and on to technical school, where I learned how to be an airplane mechanic, and I got assigned to fighter planes. And most of the fighter plane bases at that time were out in the Southwest, and I was assigned to Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada.
I'm sorry, what was the Air Force Base? You cut out a little bit there.
Nellis Air Force Base. It's just north of Las Vegas in Nevada. And I worked on F-4 Phantom fighter planes, which was like that plane, and so I was thrilled that I got it. So.
Well, it must have been an experience. I'm sorry, you were just cutting out a little bit. Maybe we should call maybe we should open a trouble ticket with IT to see if they can help us with the kind of. I might cut that out. So you said you joined when you were 17, and I just actually interviewed my uncle Russ, who talked about he had joined the Coast Guard when he was 17. Were you able to join at 17? Or were you guys forging your documentation or something?
No, I was able to join. So you had to take you have to get tested first. The Air Force is the top 10% of people being tested. So as long as you pass that test, and I had to get permission, of course, to join before I was 18, my parents. So once I did that, I was able to join. So it was a little more difficult, and really I wanted to go into computers in the Air Force, and because I wasn't 18, they wouldn't offer me that field, so I ended up being a mechanic.
Wow. So you must have, I mean, some of the planes that you worked on, I mean, I wonder, were they any, like, did you need certain clearance to be able to work on those types of planes?
You need to have a secret security clearance, which isn't the top thing, but, they just wanted to, and by then, F-4s were a Vietnam plane. Vietnam War had been over for a couple of years, and they'd been around for, more than a decade, even after. So, but you couldn't take the cockpit. You could take a picture of the plane, but nothing on the inside. There was still, secret electronic things and those kind of.
Well, and I don't know if you said it here, but I mean, certainly this is still the height of the Cold War at the time. So I'm just thinking, there's probably a lot of technology and secrets that were very valuable at the time. So you did need to, maybe not top secret clearance or whatever it is, but you did need to have a certain level of security clearance to be able to do that type of work.
Right. And the way they do that, the FBI checks your background. They call your friends and your parents. There's a whole deal to go through.
And part of it too, we've had many conversations, and one of the things that I find interesting about you in kind of your personal life is you do a lot of work on the historical side too. Talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind.
Sure. So I come from a long military family. My father was in World War II. Some of my uncles were in World War II in Korea. All of my cousins, my brother, everybody's joined the military. And so that goes back to his father in World War I and all the way back to civil. So I have a Union soldier that was my ancestor from Dorchester. He joined a Dorchester regiment. So I'm involved in historic preservation and a lot of work with current veterans now.
Interesting.
Some charity work.
I'm sorry to cut you off. You definitely have some different perspective too than probably, most of us walking around in the general population, both from a family side, but also from that historical side. I know I shared with you before, I have some relatives that go back to the Civil War, and I have an uncle and cousin that, are able to tell you, all the specific details of that. And you're that kind of type of person too, that can pull out that information, or it's up here, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's always been a great interest in.
So tell us a little bit about, I remember interviewing you back 4 years ago. And I think at the time I might have asked, have you ever worked in this field before? And what was your answer?
In computers before?
No, in human services. Sorry.
Oh, human services. Well, I have a sister that's got a mental disability, and grew up with her all of my life, and so it's kind of something near and dear to my heart. And so, my background with computers was in real estate, but that's what interested me in this job, and in being able to make a difference in maybe an operation like this, which would be great.
And it's one of those things, and we shared this before too. My background before coming to NuPath was in technology, and I spent almost 20 years of my career doing things that really had nothing to do with supporting people. And for me, it was always a question of, is this something that makes sense? Am I gonna be comfortable? Am I gonna be able to add anything? And you go through all those questions. I can say that we had similar questions about you coming in from quote unquote the outside, but you certainly have kind of embraced it, and I will say from my perspective, you've definitely been there to help the people we support, and also all the managers and staff that work in our programs. You understand that that's our top priority, making sure that they have what they need to do their job. And again, I'll say during the pandemic at the height, you were there. You were at residential programs, and we're lucky to have you.
I enjoy it. I enjoy the work, and again, it feels like you can make a difference in what you're doing now. It really kind of makes you fulfilled. And so, as opposed to being in Boston with the rat race, this is just a much more fulfilling experience. So I enjoy it very much.
Well, Kevin, we're short on time, so I'm going to thank you for, like I did with my uncle, thank you for your service to NuPath, and thank you for your service in the Air Force. And we're sure fortunate to have you on our team. So thank you.
Thank you. It's my honor.
Have a great day.
See ya. Bye.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for allowing me to sit in this seat. Dan, thank you for allowing me to guest host today. It's been a fun experience, certainly interviewing those two fine gentlemen yesterday. And lots going on here at NuPath. We have a booster clinic coming a week from Friday, so that's November 19th. We will have a booster clinic for all staff. Please be on the lookout for details and information on that. That should be going out, I believe, tomorrow or maybe later today. So, look out for that. But once again, thank you. And everyone have a great night. Have a great weekend. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.